Guys, welcome back to another Broadcasted YouTube video. Today we got our top 24 running backs for week 1 in fantasy football. If you guys are interested, we got all of our extra rankings on Patreon, link in the description. It has our top 36 running backs, 48 wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. We're answering every single question on Patreon as well. Tons of extra content. But guys, today, top 24 running backs on YouTube. Let's check it out. Our number 1 player for week 1 is CMC. Yes, Jonathan Taylor should have went number 1 in your drafts, but CMC, when healthy, is the best player for fantasy football. Carolina is going against the Cleveland Browns. It's a Baker Mayfield revenge game, and if the Panthers want to win, who do they have to give the ball to? CMC. He's going to have a great week 1. He's our number 1 RB for the week. And second player in S tier, no surprise here, is Jonathan Taylor. He was an absolute monster last season, should be a monster again this year. Versus the Houston Texans week 1, awesome matchup, should be amazing for week 1 fantasy football. Next, the first tier break. In A tier, we got Derrick Henry. He has an amazing matchup against the New York Giants. The Titans, they say they want to use him as much as they did last year. They should be up against the Giants, should be giving him a tons of touches. We love Derrick Henry week 1. Next up, we got Austin Ekeler against the Raiders. Last year in the 2 games against the Raiders, put up 29 points in both games. It's an amazing matchup. Ekeler should explode week 1. Our next player in A tier, it's Alvin Kamara. He has a great matchup, just like all these other guys against the Atlanta Falcons. He's a PPR machine. The Saints wide receivers do have some question marks, especially Michael Thomas. How healthy he's going to be. Alvin Kamara should be the vocal point of this offense for week 1. Hopefully get in the end zone, get a lot of targets. We again love Alvin Kamara. First play in B tier, it's Dalvin Cook. He always seems to do great against the Packers. Yes, he might not be the vocal point of the offense anymore like Justin Jefferson is currently, but he's still a great player, still should be great for fantasy football. Our next player in B tier is Joe Mixon. He's going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last game against the Steelers, he put up over 32 PPR fantasy points. Bengals are a much better team than the Steelers this year. We expect them to be up. They should run the ball a lot in the second half. Again, Joe Mixon's amazing this week. Next up, we got the player on the other team. In that game, we got Naji Harris against the Cincinnati Bengals. Naji Harris is just a complete workhorse back. Even if he's not going to get a ton of yards, he's going to get tons of touches. Expecting to get a few catches. Should have a super solid week for fantasy. Our next player, another tier break, it's Aaron Jones going against his Vikings defense. Again, we expect a very high-scoring game. He will split with A.J. Dillon. Hopefully, he can get in the end zone. He should get great points for your squad. Next up, we got DAndre Swift, also in C tier. He's been a PPR monster. Expecting to get tons of targets against the Eagles defense. Next, in C tier, we got Saquon Barkley. He's a beast when he's healthy, but we don't love the matchup this week. The Titans have an amazing front four. Saquon, though, has lots of PPR upside, could for sure get in the end zone, and should get a decent amount of touches week 1. Next up, also in C tier, we got Leonard Fournette. Absolutely love Leonard Fournette this season. We've said it multiple times. RB4 in points per game, RB6 overall. They lost Gronk. Chris Godwin's not super healthy. AB is gone. Leonard Fournette should get absolutely fed week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. Next up in C tier, we got James Conner. We love the matchup against the Chiefs. We expect a very high-scoring game. This year, we love James Conner as a workhorse back. He should play all 3 downs. Gets a lot of touches, gets a lot of red zone touches, and we like the PPR. Our next player, it's a tier break. In D tier, we got Nick Chubb. Again, he has almost no PPR upside. We're telling you to fade him in drafts. But for week 1, he's solid. His matchup, Carolina, we expect both teams to run the ball a lot, be a bit of a low-scoring game. I think Nick Chubb can get in the end zone week 1, so we like him as a solid RB2. Next player in D tier, another risky one, Travis Etienne. A lot of hype this season about his possible PPR upside. James Robinson should be healthy, so we expect Robinson to take a decent amount of touches, but if he can get the PPR work, maybe get a touchdown, Etienne should have a great week 1. Next up in D tier, we got Elijah Mitchell. He has a great matchup against the Chicago Bears. Last season against Chicago, he had over 130 rushing yards, over 20 attempts easily. We love the matchup. Again, Elijah Mitchell, when healthy, is a very solid running back. The main concern with him is just we all hope he doesn't get injured this season. Next up is Antonio Gibson. He's been falling down draft boards like crazy recently, but recently did just get an increase in value. Unfortunately, Brian Robinson is not going to be available to play for the first few weeks. Also, this matchup is amazing against the Jaguars. He should be the clear running back 1 in this offense without Brian Robinson. Love the matchup. Antonio Gibson should be a solid RB2 week 1. Next up in D tier, we got Ezekiel Elliott. We were telling everyone to draft this guy. We love Zeke, but for week 1, he has a really hard matchup. Tampa Bay is great against the run. Last year, Zeke put up less than 6 points. We like Zeke as a whole this season, but just not week 1. And last player in D tier is David Montgomery. It's a pretty bad matchup against the Niners, but he always has a pretty safe floor as he is the workhorse in the Spurs offense. We expect the Spurs offense to be pretty bad, but again, with being a workhorse, you're going to have a pretty high floor for fantasy football. Our first player in E tier is Cam Akers. The workload this season for Akers is very unknown. Henderson's still there. If Akers can be a 3-down back, be a workhorse, he's a beast for fantasy, but we expect Henderson to take some from him. Plus, he has a tough matchup against the Bills. That's why he is lower on our week 1 rankings. Second player in E tier is AJ Dillon. Again, expect this game, Vikings-Packers, to be a high-scoring game. Should be a 50-50 split with Aaron Jones. We expect Aaron Jones to get the PPR upside, which is why Dillon is lower, but he still should have a decent floor week 1 fantasy football. And on number 23 in E tier, we got Josh Jacobs. Also with Josh Jacobs, we don't know what the workload's going to look like. They did release Kenyon Drake, but Zamir White is looking good. He has a great matchup against the Chargers. Last year, they were terrible against the run. They did upgrade their defense a little bit. Very unknown with Josh Jacobs, so we'll put him at number 23. And the last player of the video, it's Rashaad Penny against the Broncos. Super tough matchup, but it looks like Kenneth Walker is injured. Penny should be the clear number 1 running back, which gives him a pretty decent floor. Again, the matchup is pretty terrible. Don't expect a boom week, but we like the floor for Penny this week. Boys, thanks so much for watching. Again, a reminder, if you want our full rankings, check our Patreon, link in description. We have the top 36 RBs instead of 24, and we have the top 48 wide receivers. Also, boys, make sure you hit that subscribe. All throughout the season, we're coming out with rankings, we're coming out with waiver wire ads, we're coming out with start sets. Make sure to subscribe if you want to win your fantasy championship. Boys, thanks for watching, and see y'all later.